truths of spiritualism and our knowledge of life or death. We want to keep this channel free, and you can do that by helping us build an audience by liking, engaging and sharing. So please consider this feed as viewing it direct and share it now. You can do that by clicking on the little arrow on the bottom of the screen or the share option, and you can share it to your own page. You can share it to any other groups where you're allowed to share live streams. And one of the things we've found is if you actually tag a friend, have a think now about someone you think, do you know what? They might really enjoy this show and hear from Ashley and Casey tonight. Tag a friend on Facebook, build the audience by getting those people to engage with the show. It's very much appreciated. We love all of your energy and your Facebook engagement. We'll always get a notification, and Richard in the studio via my headphones will let us know about your likes and your loves. Hopefully when you laugh, it's at appropriate times. If it's appropriate to say wow, then give us a wow. Obviously, sometimes, particularly during demonstrations of mediumship, occasionally people will say that they're sad, and it's often because the story is sad. That does come across sometimes from a Facebook point of view as a negative post, so do add some context to that. And of course, hopefully we'll make no one mad. If we do make you mad, let us know why we've made you bad, and we'll try and do something about that. But warm welcome again. Thank you for joining us on Being Spiritual with me, Ashley Robinson, and my very special guest, Casey. So Richard, we'll do a couple of hellos and welcomes, and of course I could have said that if you are loving what you're seeing on this show or the other streams, do consider being a very important patron of Spiritual Psychics TV. You can donate via the PayPal page as little as $1 a day, just under £1 in the UK, and what that does, all that money goes back into the investment of the studio, the logistics and the equipment behind the scenes to keep things going. So obviously the rate of inflation has changed. It's $1.20 now, or 90 pence, still under £1 in the UK. But do consider becoming a patron. I say it helps with the logistics. Also, it gives you some access to some VIP content, Zoom meetings, other free live readings, and other bits and pieces. We'll give you some heads up about some of the shows and some of the demonstrations of mediumship and other things throughout the week later tonight at the end. But this evening, it's an opportunity to talk about being spiritual, to talk about what I refer to as my spiritualist philosophy. We've been taking people on a bit of a journey. Richard created some playlists today, and you'll notice that this show and all the other shows have been archived. You can go back and watch them. And I think this is our 8th show, Rich, which suggests we've been doing this now about 15 weeks. AJ Bat, hello, good evening to you, welcome. So you can go back and have a look at the other shows. And while I'm doing the hellos, I'll tell you a little bit about that journey that those 7 or 8 shows have taken us. Busy Bee, good evening. She says hi to Ashley and Richard. Daddy there. Hi, Ray. Good evening, Dad. Thank you for joining us. Susie Roo says good evening to us all. And Dad, of course, says hi to Casey. That's lovely. Helen Louise Cole says hi from Spain. Good evening to you, Helen. Thank you for joining us. Jackie B, hello. She says hello, everybody. Wendy Payne, good evening, Ashley. Hello, Casey. Christine Davis, good evening to you and welcome to the show. Ray Robinson loves us, guys. We'll say that as plural. I know there's a lot of love for you, Casey, and you, Richard. And I'm pretty sure he loves me. Lorna Ralston, hi, Lorna. She says hi to us both. And Suzanne from Liverpool. Suzanne, great that you're joining us from the north. Mary Dixie, my circle leader, she says good evening to Ashley and Casey. And Lisa Paris, hello from New York. Good evening, Lisa. Jackie B says first time. Is that any newcomer? And actually, Christine Davis, first-time viewer from Caterham in Surrey. Leslie Knight, wonderful spiritualist, healer, ambassador for that movement and tutor. Good evening to you, Leslie. Michelle, good evening to you. She says, hi, Ashley and Richard. That's Michelle Joyette Hull. Welcome on Facebook. Kaylee Rin, evening. The lovely Kaylee In fact, Kaylee would have met Casey at one of our spiritual and psychic weekends and took part in the same workshop that I referred to a couple of weeks ago. So Kelly McEaton says, hello, Ashley, Richard and Casey. Big love to all. Big love right back at you, Kelly. And Russ Barnsley says, hi to you all. I'm from Essex, England. First time viewing. Russ, it's lovely to have you join us this evening. Thank you. Julie Caswell, who I was with yesterday at one of our circles, says good evening to everyone. Wonderful supporter. And the lovely Stace Shaw. Hi, Ashley, Richard and everyone. My good friend Tracy Jones from the Wimbledon congregation there. And a new Tracy Brown. Good to see you too. Richard said, I'm doing okay. I'm keeping up with the auto feed at the moment. And we got a good day from Australia. Cherie Dyer, good evening to you. Got some family over in Brisbane. Lovely that you're joining us. Alex Stubbs says, hi, good evening, Alex. Thank you for coming on to Spiritual Psychic TV this evening. Oh, yes, we've got a YouTube logo there, so that lets me know that the YouTube feed is up and running and that you're engaging with us direct on that channel. So do subscribe if you're on YouTube to this channel. Elaine Macy says hi and evening to everybody. And Karen Elizabeth says she's joining us from Scotland for the first time. Welcome, Karen. It's really good to have you. Vicky Taylor joins us from South Wales. Hello, Vicky. Lovely to have you joining us. And Michaela Holland. Hi, everybody. Michaela, hi, and welcome to the show. Patricia Kimber, good evening to you. I know that some of these comments will automate now on the screen. We've got hello there from Julie. Hi, and welcome to you. And I think I've almost caught up with those that have started to engage. Elaine McKay, hi, welcome. Thanks to all of those that are sharing. We set ourselves a challenge a couple of weeks ago, which was to beat the record of how many times this show had been shared. I think it had previously been shared about 40 odd times, and then we managed to share it 70 times a couple of weeks ago. Good evening, Kim. Hi, welcome. So it'd be lovely if we could beat that record again. I know that we often have far more people that are sharing than are watching, and it really does just take a couple of seconds. So consider sharing this feed and tagging a friend. Share it to your groups. Hi there, Patricia. It really does help build the audience and help keep Spiritual Psychics TV free. Now, we had someone join us from New York today. And for those that follow me on Facebook would have been seeing that me, along with millions of other people, sharing different memories of a very sad and tragic event which took place in New York 19 years ago. It's something that I will never forget. Jackie B says, can you put up a link to the YouTube channel? I'm new to this stuff. Well, Jackie, you're joining us live on Facebook, which is great. But if you look for Spiritual Psychics TV on YouTube, you should find us. I'll ask Richard to try and pin that link for you for another day. And you can subscribe. Stephanie Martini there from New York, and Stacey's saying she shared. Yeah, we'll all remember, I think, those of us that were alive 19 years ago, where we were. I was actually on my way to the bank to apply for a university loan. Hello there from Long Island. Good evening, Lisa. And I remember thinking that there must have been given away some free TVs because the Sony store suddenly had this swarm of people as they were gathering around the outside of the high street there, all looking live at the news. As that first plane had already hit the tower. And I remember watching along with other people in the high street as that sad event, that second plane hit the tower. Very sad, but I want to focus on the positivity that has continued to build strong relationships both across the pond with our good friends in America. Kaylee reminds you that she really enjoyed your workshop, Casey, which is lovely. Tracy saying she shared it. And I want to do a number of things this evening. We always build up some beautiful energy on this show. And towards the end of the show, I just want to take a little moment and send out that energy back to the universe in the way of absent spiritual healing. We can think about all the people that are perhaps remembering that day. We can think about all the crazy wildfires in Casey's home county, California, in the state there, the things that are going there, both in Portland, Oregon as well. And we can just send the energy we build up throughout the show, and we'll do that at the evening. So please join us for that healing moment towards the end. just going back to New York, about 9 years ago, for the 10th anniversary of the World Trade Center attacks, I had the opportunity to participate in the World Police and Fire Games, where I played rugby for Great Britain as part of a Barbarians rugby team, and played rugby on a little island just in front of New York, I suppose near Manhattan. I played rugby against the Fire Department of New York and the NYPD and colleagues, partners from all over the world. But there's this picture that I had taken with the New York skyline in the background, missing those towers. And our friends from the Fire Department of New York, their shirts had the number 11 on, and inside that number 11 were hundreds and hundreds of names of just the firefighters alone that had sadly lost their names. I remember going to a memorial service in New York at the cathedral, and I remember having a PowerPoint presentation where we spoke about all the different engine companies and entire crews of people, all the first responders, as well as the first victims of that tower. So I wanted to mention that, not just because we had someone from New York join us, but because it means something to me. And significantly, we have my great friend Casey joining us from USA Today. I know that California will benefit from our love and light as we send that over there, hoping that Mother Earth is able to bounce back as well as she can from these wildfires, and that everybody can stay as safe as possible. Of course, lots of people losing their homes, losing their livelihoods at the moment, not just in California, but also in Oregon. Portland, Oregon, another beautiful part of the world that I've been to. So that's it. I promise no more referrals to events that happened a long time ago. It's all about the future, because we only get to live this life once. We've mentioned that several times. And of course, part of this show, part of sharing my knowledge of life after death and the truths of spiritualism as I've had them, is to hopefully take us all on a bit of a journey. And also with the caveat that everything I tell you, I do believe to be the truth as given to me by my circle leaders, my guides, my inspirers. And we're okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer's just saying there's a little bit of an echo. Hopefully that will settle down. Both Casey and I are using headphones, and hopefully we'll reduce that echo. And part of the journey we've been taking people on this show, we've looked at subjects such as who and what is God, the meaning of the universe. We've looked at the concepts of reincarnation and karma. We've spoke about love and unconditional love, what is love particularly, and what love isn't, which leads us towards this show. We've spoke about the importance of guides, our spiritual guides, our ancestors, our inspirers, people like Jiminy Cricket, who work with Pinocchio to help with their conscience, how our guides can come in and provide that type of role should we decide to listen to them. We've spoken a lot about energy, and particularly last show when we spoke about unconditional love and the power behind that intent. We spoke about energy, and we also spoke about a workshop which I'd been at the Spirit Seeker weekend. We spoke about Tantra and the idea behind the magic behind sort of tantric. So this isn't going to be a tantric show, but it's going to be a show where we talk about spiritual philosophy. It's going to be a show that we talk about energy. And in a little while, Casey will introduce herself and give you some of her thoughts. But I wanted to remind you that when we spoke about who is God and what is God, we got to the point of saying that God as a descriptor word could mean energy. We spoke about that chapter in the Bible where in the beginning was the word. And we said, well, what if that word was energy? And then in the beginning was God, and God was energy, and God was nothing without energy, and energy was nothing without God. And we spoke about the fact that God could be a descriptor, almost like an umbrella for all the sum particles of collective energy that is the universe. We've spoken a little bit about the afterlife, that place I call heaven. I've referred to that place in heaven as a place of pure energy, of pure love. We've spoke about the difference between a human being and a corpse, that consciousness, and how that consciousness, when it is part of the human body, creates the human being. And of course, when that human being and that body is no longer capable of containing that energy, the body is nothing more than a corpse. But the personality, the soul, the consciousness of that person, it's that which goes on to live in that place I call heaven. So that was just a quick recap and refresher about some of the things we have spoken about. And tonight, the subject matter is all going to be about that energy and power of intention and the way of living our lives. Now, the lady that I've introduced a couple of times, Casey, is someone I consider to be my American family, my USA family, my California family, as I've referred to. We've only physically met 3 or 4 times probably over the last 25 years, but it feels like we've known each other before. Perhaps we did in a previous incarnation. But if I want to rewind, so I'm turning 28 this year. In fact, this month, on the 29th of September, I'm turning 28. I want to rewind to the age of 13, turning a teenager. Now, my grandfather, Derek Robinson, the founder of Life After Death Promotions, an organization which was brought together with the love and intention of sharing their knowledge of life after death and the truths of spiritualism. My grandfather founded that organization with Gordon Higginson, a wonderful medium, Doris Stokes, Doris Collins. When I was 13 years old, the internet was still evolving in many ways. I remember you having to use a dial-up modem, take out the main phone line where you're slowly and painfully connected. But my granddad, who had been taking spiritualism out of the church at Wimbledon and as far as he could all round the country and indeed the world, including places like Japan, where he took spiritualist mediumship as one of the first people, he felt that he wanted to go to the States. He wanted to go to California, and I managed to find a stream. People would see them as podcast or stream now, but it was an old real audio, and it was a country and western radio show being streamed out of a little town called Turlock in California. And my granddad, just how he found this show, I have no idea, but he loved it, and he loved that music. And he said, can't we find some spiritualist churches out there? There must be people like us that want some people from London to come over. And we went online and we stumbled across a handful of different websites, and we ended up making contact with a couple of spiritualist groups over in California, and we put the mission to them. How would you feel about some people from London coming out to share our knowledge of life after death and our knowledge of spiritualism, and we'll come and we'll practice our religion and we'll bring some people with us? And my granddad was able to do that. And one of the best things about that part of that relationship was the breadcrumbs and seeds, which led to me getting to meet people over there and getting to meet my American family. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce one of those ladies who met my grandfather and still wanted something to do with the Robinsons after that. Casey, it is wonderful to have you on the show tonight. It's a warm welcome to you. And I'm going to hand over to you now for you to tell the people at home a little bit about yourself. You can talk a little bit about that journey I just mentioned there. And then you can tell us a little bit about your concepts, your journeys and your sort of understanding, and maybe plant a few of the seeds of things you did in the workshop. And then around 9 o'clock, just before 9 o'clock, what we'll do is we'll hand over to the people and we'll give them an opportunity to ask us some questions which we can ask as a panel. So I'll just finish by saying that Mum and Dad have said both Jackie and I are so pleased that Casey Rogers is on the show and to have you in your life. So that was a lovely thing. And Wendy says a beautiful memory. So Casey, without further ado, thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Let's hear a little bit about you.
Thanks, Ashley. And I'm proud to say that I've known 4 generations of Robinsons. So that's really awesome. And we were so excited to have them come to our spiritualist church in Turlock because they brought so much. I had never seen a medium stand on a platform and do readings in that way. And I think the biggest thing that I was taught was to trust myself. Because those of us who are on that journey of mediumship, and especially out here in the West, we don't have any type of education. We don't, we're just kind of know we're different. And, I started seeing dead people at 10. And I was like, what the heck, right? I didn't have parents that I could go to and say, I'm seeing dead people. So I really felt alone for a long time. And so I was thankful in my early 20s to be able to be a part of the spiritualist church and have these mediums come from England. It was absolutely phenomenal. And I talk about you. You're in my elevator speech every time that I do a reading party or a private reading. Because everyone always wants to know, how the heck did you get? And so my medium friends and my family have been very integral in my journey, especially with proper training. because, here in the States, we don't, have any proper training. It's just, even when you want to get a reading, it's kind of like, oh, underneath a rock. Here's a person, have someone's card and can know somebody, give her a call. So I have been a practicing medium and psychic now for 29 years. And I thoroughly enjoy what I do. I'm also a realtor with my husband in my left brain life. I have 2 children. I have a daughter who's 7, who's a teacher, a son who's 24, and they were raised in the spiritual church and with the spiritualist movement, and they've also traveled with us to England. And I'm just really thankful for this opportunity and be able to speak on energy. Energy is everything. That's what we are. We are energy. We give and receive energy constantly, don't we? You've met those people like Ashley was talking about, gosh, we met these people from England, and all of a sudden they became family and friends instantly. And when I travel to England, it feels like I'm going home. So I know that I have also had a lifetime in England, and it's just really exciting. And I have to really calm myself down when I start to talk about energy because it's so exciting. And so, in the tantric philosophies, it's really about sharing an essence or sharing an energy with a partner or someone who you're intimate with. And intimacy can happen on so many different levels, right? We're intimate with our parents, we're intimate with friends, we're intimate with lovers, we're intimate with children. And so, intimacy is basically spending time with that human being, right, with that soul, and really listening to them, and especially with our children. I think this is super important. I mean, how many of us have been in the kitchen, we're making dinner, the child comes running in, and they're all excited about something they're doing, or pocket full of worms, or whatever it is, and you're just, oh, no, I'm busy, I gotta do another load of laundry, so really stopping to tune into our children and listen to what they're saying, look in their eyes, and really let them know how important they are and what they have to say. And that goes along with everybody, everyone that we're meeting. How do we make them feel? Not only what energy are they giving us, but what energy are we bringing to the party, right? There's those of us who are mothers or fathers, but a lot of times the household kind of revolves around mom. So if you wake up in a cranky mood, guess what that household is, right? So we're constantly using energy on so many different levels. We're getting, energy from other people. There's those people that you meet too, and you see them 5 feet away, and you're like, oh, no, back it up, right? So, got a little regular bad sound from me. Is that better?
Hi, folks. I think some of you are saying to us that you're having a few problems hearing Casey. It's got a bit crackly. I don't know if it's the internet connection or not. Interestingly, if people hearing me, are you hearing the same feedback from my voice as you were from Casey? It might be just a problem with the connection over there. We're just going to try a couple of things, folks. Sorry for the feedback noise you're having there. Richard's just going to talk Casey through a bit of tech support. So Kim is saying that I'm coming across clear. So we're going to see if we can get that connection back to USA. Tracy's saying she can see the subtitles. I think so. At least people were picking up your words on the subtitles, Casey. But we'll see if we can restore that connection in a minute. Jennifer's saying that I'm also coming across loud and clear. So I think that just while Casey's doing that, then in the background, then everyone was agreeing with you, Casey. Okay, folks. Okay, I'll. Yeah, right. What I'm going to do, folks, I'm just going to take off my headphones for a second. Um, hopefully you can all still hear me, all right? The reason I'm doing that is Richard's going to give technical support to Casey, and as a very simple man and creature, I can't do multitasking, so I was finding it difficult to carry on. But Richard's going to hopefully sort out the sound issues that were working absolutely fine a little while ago. And Casey was telling us a little bit about her family and her story in California, and we're going to talk about that power of energy. So Rachel says that she has her earphones in but seems okay. Christine Woodham is also saying no problem. Okay, thank you, Christine. My dad says I have feedback from you, Ash. Oh, thanks for everyone else. I think I'm generally coming across clear. Okay, so I just want to again focus on that energy. We spoke a little while ago, didn't we, about building up the energy. Okay, so someone's saying to put on my earphones anyway, and just ignore Richard, which I'll do.
Can you hear me now, Richard?
We're almost.
Is that better?
Well,
I changed the microphone to headset microphone.
Fixed it, so we'll be able to introduce her back. It sounds absolutely lovely. So, folks, thanks for bearing with us. Running a live channel, always experimental, and we do love your patience as you experiment with us. So, without further ado, back to Casey. Thank you, Casey.
Okay. So where shall I start? I don't know where I left off. I was on a roll. Yes. So I'll kind of talk about how to tune into your own energy and how to be aware of your breath and how to come center, right? Because there's a lot of awareness now around about, coming inward, coming in for peace. We have a lot that's going on in our world right now, a lot going on in California. And so the easiest way to come inward is through meditation. And so it always suggests that you start a meditation practice, because this is going to bring you into the now. It's going to bring you in directly to your main, I call it like a river, or your essence of your energy, right? So in meditation, it causes us to slow down, to come inward, and to breathe, right? So that's the biggest number one thing, if you want to tune into your own energy, is to breathe, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the tantric philosophies, which, I'll talk about more with a partner. That can be really fulfilling, is to actually just sit with your partner and breathe with them, really get into one another's energy, and I don't know if you've been with a partner, you can always kind of tell, like, are they excited? Are they anxious? Are they not interested? So this is a way to bring the two of you into one. And you can also do lots of different exercises with Tantra. And, you can eye gaze, which is just simply sitting across from your partner and gazing into their eyes. And some people find this really uncomfortable. I mean, I've done this quite a bit throughout my, training in my years, and some people cannot hold eye gaze at all. So I always like to do some fun little exercises too when I go out into the public, and especially now that we're all wearing masks, right? That adds a new extra layer of separateness. And so what I would do if I was to go out to a grocery store or to fast food or to have a meal, I'd really look that waitress in the eye or that person that's checking me out and say thank you. And this is really, really rewarding, for people, because how many times throughout the day are you exchanging with other human beings and you don't look them in the eye, or they don't look you in the eye? So that's another really wonderful way to just start this practice of really being present with your own energy and being present with someone else. Any questions so far?
Well, that was lovely, Casey. And people, I don't know if you can see the comments on your end, but people were saying they're really glad that they persevered and stayed because they're enjoying what you're saying. Wendy Payne was saying how great. Eye contact is good. A few people were also commenting on your Spirit Seeker workshop and saying the impact that's made on their life. And people seem to be really grateful for us restoring the connection. But I agree absolutely with what you said, Casey. And when I asked you to do this show, I said to you that the power that those exercises had on me. And one of the ladies that was just commenting a moment ago, Kaylee. Hi, Stephanie. Kaylee is the granddaughter of one of my circle leaders, Christine Woodham, and we're kind of meeting each other for the first time. So this wasn't with my partners or my family that I was doing that eye gazing. It was strangers and people I was meeting at the Spiritual Seeker weekend. And how incredibly powerful it is to actually take time and gaze into someone's eyes. And I love what you just said there, because you also coupled it with also that intention of gratitude and how powerful it is to say thank you and show gratitude anyway, but to do that while making eye contact. So I think that was a really lovely thing. You also spoke about awkwardness. Jackie B says that she's scared to look some people in the eyes at times. And Cherie Dyer says, hello, lovely. She agreed with you, Stacey Shaw, and also said what you said about your children. So Stacey Shaw says she agreed with you.
Yeah, really, it's really important. And, especially with our elders too. And I find that, what happens is they don't have the intimacy anymore if they've lost a partner, or maybe they're in a facility, that's really important, is spending time, right? Because time is valuable, isn't it? So if I'm giving you my time and my energy, that's a great gift. So when someone gives it to me, I also reciprocate to really be present. So it doesn't matter who I'm sitting with, or spending time with. I really like to be present with them and not worry about everything else that's going on. And there's lots of different philosophies on what energy is. But myself, I just personally believe that our energy is our breath. That is our soul. That is who we are. If you've been with someone who's passing to the other side, what's missing after they pass? Breath, right? We can live for days and weeks without food and water, but only moments without our breath. So super important to breathe and come inward and just be. I think we're so within our societies, we're so busy doing all the time, we aren't being. And I also think that's something really cool that the pandemic has showed us, is what's important, right? Everyone is now, in the home, working from home, educating their children from home. So we've also had this big turn, inward into our homes and what's important. And so, spending time with your loved ones in the home, and those of us who didn't get to see loved ones, I know that Ashley didn't get to see his parents for quite a while, and their grandchildren, and just how important being with other people is. So
yeah, absolutely. And physical contact for me was a really big thing. Cherie says that she wishes she was in one of our countries to come to one of our workshops. Wendy says your eyes can convey a lot without the need for words. So lots of people agreeing with you. Christine Woodham says she must have a go at gazing into someone's eyes. And a few people have mentioned, Casey, about intimacy. And indeed, you've said to try this with your partner. And I've been with my partner Claire for 20 years now. We've been married 15 years. And she would consider herself as a spiritual person, but she's Catholic as a sort of label. But I remember after the workshop saying to her, I want to do some eye gazing with you. And even she was like, oh, I'm not sure I want to lie there and just look at your eyes. So I think that intimacy, as we explored a couple of weeks ago, being in love with someone and having or sharing intimacy is obviously a wonderful thing. But intimacy on its own is not necessarily love. It can be more about desire. It can be a lot of fun, but it can be more about desire or sort of lust. I think it was June. It was Kim that had also said that the eye gazing, or June, it was June that said eye contact and the eye gazing initially felt awkward because it almost felt like we were initiating intimacy, even though something as simple as eye gazing, because of that space, I think the intimacy was perhaps the point she was making then. But we've had a few other people say hi to you, including Marcus Medium. We've had some greetings from Hawaii, Casey. That's the first time we've had anyone from Hawaii join us on the show. So thanks for bringing them in. Any thoughts about that sort of link there between things like eye gazing and intimacy? and the sharing.
Absolutely. I mean, the eyes are the window to the soul, aren't they? So if you're gazing into someone's eyes, you're truly looking into their soul. So, there's another activity, I can't remember if it's the right eye or the left eye, that you gaze specifically into to really, get to connect into, someone's soul. And, even touching your heart and then, touching another's heart, I think it was Leslie said she misses cuddles, Leslie, find someone to cuddle with you, or give you a hug. And, especially I can speak from, being in a feminine body this time around, our masculines are really important for that, right? For a hug, for grounding. So if you can find someone that, is safe just to give you a hug, that's really great too. It grounds you. It helps to release serotonin. As women, we need a lot more serotonin than men do, and we need to talk, right? So guys, when your partner comes in, your female partner, and they've had a terrible day, they don't want you to solve it for them, right? Because usually if you've had a bad day and, oh, my boss said this, your partner or your hubby, oh, just you go right in there and tell that, boss, rah, 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 give them what for. That's not what we want. We want you to say, oh, come here and let me give you a hug and everything is going to be okay, right? So that's an interesting dichotomy between, feminine energy and masculine energy. So I'd be interested to hear from you, Ashley, when you are feeling out of control, what does your wife or your feminine do for you as far as energy or hugs, or what is it that you look most for?
I think that particularly with my two little boys, a hug from them looking into my eyes and saying things like they love me with that intent. One's 2 and one's 5, as you know, how incredibly powerful that can be. It could solve my problems without necessarily solving them. Leslie says we aren't meant to cuddle. We aren't meant to cuddle each other with COVID. So miss my church cuddle, I think was what she was referring to. But how incredibly powerful that I can have such a difficult and stressful day, and one look from my little boy that says he loves me and gives me a hug. I think there's something really powerful. Ashley's hugs are very grounding, says Phil. Phil, that was once we'd been drinking. We said we'd never talk about it again. I'm joking. Phil Shaw, lovely medium there from Wimbledon. Yes, I'm a touchy-feely person. I do like a hug. And I think that you mentioned the heart in particular. I think that a heart-to-heart, people talk about a real conversation, but a heart-to-heart hug, the incredible powerful there. And I said to you that I was very aware about energy. I was very aware about healing. But there was one of the exercises that you got us to do. I'll just say hi to, I think, is that Gimel Joshua Idil? Welcome. He said he's joining us for the first time. And Wendy says children engage better if you look them in the eyes while talking to them. That's true, which is why we should go down. Stay Shaw sends out some virtual hugs. I was very aware of that power behind intent and sending love and light and healing. But there was an exercise you did where you encouraged us to take someone in the room to actually take hold of their hand with their consent and bring it up to our heart, and then for them to do the same thing. And then to go through the exercise of maybe talking about a time that we were feeling a bit sad or a bit anxious. And that was the weekend where the blizzard had absolutely bombarded Weston-super-Mare under inches and inches of snow and made it incredibly difficult to get. Claudette says that my mum always told me that you speak with your eyes. When she couldn't speak before she passed, we spoke to each other with her eyes. It's beautiful. Thank you, Claudette McIntosh, for showing that. And I could feel the energy of the person as we felt about that journey and our trip, the anxiety of coming, you and I certainly from that day were in London, the anxiety of getting there, where we're going to get there. And when I had my hand on someone's heart and vice versa, you could feel that. You could feel part of their anxiety. But then what was even more powerful, as you said, now think about a moment of happiness, a moment of something you've enjoyed and delight. And it was almost contagious. We're talking a lot about contagion, aren't we, at the moment in September 2020? But how contagious love and light, positivity was. And again, that power of consent. Obviously, in any country, we should always say, never touch anyone without consent. That could be an assault. But actually inviting someone and saying, please put your hand on my heart, asking someone for the consent to give them a hug. There's someone that mentioned a little while ago, Julie Caswell. I remember Julie saying she's not a big hugger, not a big extrovert. And I said to Julie, look, I get my energy from other people. Julie, I really want to give you a hug. Is it okay? And she sort of looked at me and thought, well, I don't really like doing hugs, but then said, yes, it's okay. And it was initially quite awkward for her, but quite a powerful moment to take the opportunity. So, Julie, sorry to embarrass you there. Stace says that her children's eyes change when she's talking to them and gazing. She says, according to the mood they're in, and when they are, I think that was it, fiddling. Fibbing. Yeah, when they're fibbing, they hate it because they can't get away with anything. And Stace, that's a really good point. And some of you know that I've had a background in investigation and law enforcement, and it's one of the things we said, that the eyes can never lie to you. And in fact, if someone is recalling from a memory, they'll almost look into their mind to recall the memory, as opposed to their creativity when they might try and tell a fib. And Jiamu, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Jiamu Joshua, you're saying he's agreeing with your cases. You're right about that. So thank you for joining us. Christine Woodham is saying she remembers that trip so well. She's joined us on YouTube from Spain tonight, Casey. So we've got 3 generations of Christine's family watching today, which is good.
Yeah, and then, let's also talk about, how do you feel when someone doesn't reciprocate the hug, right? Do you internalize that? So it's really just as simplistic as saying, thank you for taking care of yourself, right? So that relieves you of any oh my God, do I smell bad? Did I say something? Do I have weird energy? It just could be that person for the day, they could be a person that's like, I don't like personal touch. I don't want you in my space. I don't want you in my energy, right? Which it usually has nothing to do with you, but all about how they feel, because hugs are huge. And how do people hug you? I know you've got the side huggers. You got the people that kind of, do this way out here. Very seldom do you actually have someone bring you in heart to heart, unless it's someone, it's usually a partner, and that you really get to hug in that way. So I always think it's really important to tell people, because I went through it myself. If I wanted to, I'm a hugger, and if I wanted to hug someone and they were like, no, I don't want to hug you, I would really take that personally, right? So just a realization of not taking that personally and just allowing that person to take care of themselves is really huge. Yeah, the power of hugs, and there's so many people that are missing that right now during COVID, right? Just especially those people that are living alone, so
yeah, absolutely.
Super powerful.
I love the way you were just describing the different types of hugs there. For me, particularly amongst the rugby fraternity, there's the sort of handshake that comes in with the hand and the reach around, and then that and the embracing. It's almost like a very sort of masculine way of saying, we can do this. There's a bit of bromance. We can go heart to heart. I think you're absolutely right. There's some people that almost feel like it's just too awkward, like they're sort of caught inside the hug. But yeah, as you described it, that intimacy when you're able to hug a loved one, incredibly powerful. It almost leaves fingerprints. Just before my nan Hazel died, who obviously you knew, Casey, Ethan wasn't feeling particularly well. It was a couple of days before she went into hospital, and there's a picture that I took just spontaneously on my phone at the time when she said, "Just come and give Nanny a hug." And he sort of, she was in a wheelchair, and he jumped up. You could see it was almost physically difficult and painful for her, and she gave her this hug. And it was his entire body. It was like she filled him with energy. And it was like she passed on that love through the hug. And I caught this moment in quite a beautiful photo. Leslie Sev, I give bear hugs. I don't know what your spiritual interpretation is, Casey, of a bear hug. Have you ever been on the other end of an Ashley bear hug?
Yes. They're lovely. Yes.
And Dad says he remembers the first hug from you and Dan.
Well, it's really interesting too, being from California, we're pretty, there's a liberalness to us, right? And then meeting some very stiff English people, and it was really even interesting when I taught the class. I think someone from the back row said, this is the worst self-help class I've ever been to, So it was interesting just to see, even in different cultures, how people feel about hugs or being, intimate, or vulnerability. We haven't even talked about vulnerability. That's a whole another ball of wax, right? Because vulnerability is actually our greatest strength. People think, oh, I don't want to be weak. I don't want to be vulnerable. But, vulnerability is really just, I don't care what anybody else thinks. I'm going to live my life, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do and say what I need to say. And I don't care what anybody else thinks. So I'm always, trying to educate around vulnerability. And there's an author, her name is Brené, Brene, like Renee, but with a B, Brown, Brown. I don't have any of her books with me, but she talks a lot about vulnerability and the power of vulnerability, right? Because when we go to hug somebody, we're being vulnerable, aren't we? We're opening ourselves to receive a hug, or someone to say, no, I don't want to hug you, right? So there's a lot of vulnerability around, intimacy and being or feeling awkward about that, especially if you don't come from a culture or come from a household that we're huggers. So
absolutely. I think that there's an interesting sort of link there with vulnerability, because, of course, giving a hug, you're putting yourself potentially in a vulnerable position. You're putting your arms, which historically have been around defending yourself. You're putting them into other use. There was a story I learned a little while ago about a king. And a king that had been killed drinking from a cup and kissing someone. And there was this whole ritual around the kissing cup where you would never now hug someone or take a kiss, take a drink from this cup, where you effectively were giving it a kiss, without someone going back to back with you to protect you. And this idea of sort of being vulnerable. So I think there's something there you say about yourself, making yourself vulnerable and hugging someone that it's safe to do that. Ellie says she hugged her mum and dad for the first time in 11 months the other week, and it felt really amazing. We also had Wendy Payne threatening to turn up in Portsmouth on the south coast, find Richard and give him a hug for all the hard work he's been doing in spiritual productions. But clearly a lot of people ready to get out and start hugging again. I think that with all the guidance we're getting from government about social distancing, the one thing I didn't expect to see in this apocalypse was some guidance which come out from public health around restoring intimacy. And it did make me chuckle, because it said when beginning or choosing or intending to be intimate with someone, make sure it's with a familiar partner. And that made me laugh the first sort of thing. Okay, as opposed to a stranger, and now I'm going to resume intimacy. But they were saying that if you are not living in the household, to think about physical barriers. The idea that you could be intimate through barriers, and it gave me this idea about government-approved sort of glory holes in the COVID-19 pandemic of the apocalypse. But I think that people are almost becoming desperate for that physical contact again, not in a government glory hole apocalypse moment. My dad's going to tell me off now. He said I got too close to the wind last time. And Dad says it was Bren Brown, the author. So he's put
Brené
that
Brown.
in.
Yeah, thank you, Ray.
Brown.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that was a lovely. Stacey Shaw says, "Low, yeah, a familiar partner." No, vulnerability. Tell us a little bit more that about, because you also said that we need to kind of prepare ourselves, don't we, for rejection. So yes, it's very empowering when someone says, "Yeah, come in, give me a hug." When they say, "No, I choose not to," you've given me the choice. So you're putting yourself, I suppose, on offer for that rejection as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we kind of talked about that already, and just allowing them to be. You know what? Tell them. I use the words, thank you for taking care of yourself. And I've seen people really like taken back, like, oh my gosh, thank you for taking care of myself. I never thought of it that way, you know? So I'll also do that too. If there's somebody, sometimes there's people who have a creepy vibe, and we have to be honest and say, I don't want a hug from you, and that's okay too, and especially with our children right nowadays to not make them hug anybody they don't want to hug, or, children are exceptionally, intuitive. So they know too, so listening to our children.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
it tells us a lot about things, but we can also be intimate in the way of sending our energy, like, Ash talked about at the beginning of the show, sending energy to those people that are going through the wildfires, that are losing their homes, losing their lives. We can't breathe clearly here, and there's ash raining down everywhere. And so, being intimate with Mother Earth, being, intimate with your energy as far as sending it to people that you don't even know, is really great, and you can do that through meditation too, just sitting silently and sending love and healing. And, I haven't touched on energetic healing yet, which, we also learned as in spiritualism, and being able to move the energy, right? And what a great gift that is, because that's also a vulnerability in an intimacy situation too, right? Where someone is sitting, allowing you to move into their energy and to move that energy, move that stagnant stuff out,
Definitely.
So it happens on so many different levels.
Lots of people agree with you, Casey. There's some comments coming there. Our friend in Hawaii was saying that culturally it's been quite difficult. They're on their second lockdown, and from a culture of hugging and kissing. We also had some friends there from Wales that said they're big huggers in their family. It's taken them a long time to get the brother-in-law into a position of hugging. Joanne Lewis says that as a healer, she found hugging a no-go, as the healing essence was attracting feelings from the opposite sex. And that's it's, I suppose, sometimes difficult to confuse the type of energy that starts to develop in a spiritual or psychic way, and confusing that between love or lust or desire.
So
I know that.
Let's talk about intention, right? Intention is huge. What is my intention when I move forward and I ask you if I can give you a hug, right? So if my intention is to just be pure in my hug and send love and healing and all of that, that's what you're going to feel, right? If my intention is sexual, or my intention is negative or hateful or anything like that, I'm going to feel that as well, right? So we always, always, always need to be aware of intention. So even giving and receiving, right? Because if someone's coming at me for a hug, what's their intention? Right? So that's really important too. I think that's the biggest thing. And that goes for everything that we deal with and everyone. What is my intention around this? Even putting things out into the universe, what is my intention around this? So yeah, it can be that basic, and you don't always think about all the steps that go into hugging, but intention is huge, and permission, is huge. So
absolutely.
Those are some, yeah.
We covered when we spoke about love and intention the last couple of weeks. There's just a paragraph I want to read from my good friend Ralph Steadman. Again, I know I've mentioned some of his books before. This is Spiritualism Under the Microscope. And Ralph, who continues to guide me from heaven, was just saying to me, he said, I write a little bit about energy. And there's a sort of religion meets science paragraph that he's just drawn me to. For those that don't know, Casey is also a spiritualist medium, and we've worked together on platform in California. So that term medium, in Ralph's book here, he says the word medium is a Latin word meaning middle. So a medium is effectively an in-betweener, an interpreter, or a passer on of messages. And the best way to think of a medium is an operator in a telephone exchange who receives the incoming messages and then has to sort them out and pass them on to the appropriate recipient. However, we need to know where these messages are coming from and whom. This is where we have to go into the little bit of a spiritual philosophy. Every human being is composed of two elements, a physical body and a personality. The physical body can be recognized by using one or the other of the physical sensory organs, the skin, tongue, nose, ears and eyes, etc., which are retrospectively the organs of touch, taste, smell, hearing and sight. But the personality cannot be recognized by any of those organs, as the personality is non-physical. Scientists tell us that everything in creation has energy, and the energy is measured by the level of vibrations which it gives off. For instance, copper gives off a different vibration to silver, and that of gold is different to both of them, and so on. So each physical body gives off vibrations at a certain level, but the personality also gives off a vibration at a far higher level of that of the physical body. The predominant vibration of the personality is that of the mental body, which is the frequency of pure thought, but it has held closely within the physical body, so it can operate within an only very limited range while the human being is alive. Now, it's interesting that you take us to that bit of his book, because I think it kind of, again, brings a little bit of religion and sort of science together. I'm proud to call myself a spiritualist, but it's a label that not everyone is comfortable with or happy to use. But part of this show has been exploring some of that philosophy. And when you were talking about those things, I think that paragraph talking about also the word of the medium and how we do that, to a certain extent, you could argue that we are mediums right now in what we're doing. We're still interpreting our own knowledge and sort of understanding and passing this on. What do you think?
Well, I read Ray's comment, so that got my brain off. But so let me get back. Sorry, let me get back in with you. So reiterate your question, Ash. What are you asking me exactly?
Yeah, I think I'm having some problems with my microphone. Richard was just saying now. Give me two seconds. Okay, that was weird. It just flashed up with a message, which I assumed is from you, Richard. But no, that. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. So what I was sort of saying, Richard Casey, with Ralph talking about the physical body, the personality, the consciousness, and effectively the energy behind that, I was likening to that to the conversation we were just talking about the power of intention behind the physical action. And again, both the physical body receiving the hug as well as the consciousness, the personality receiving it. And this end, because you spoke about intimacy not necessarily needing to be physical. And I thought, well, heaven is a place of pure energy and pure thought. So actually, we have a way of showing love through our physical deeds, but also our intentions, which could be argued as a sort of physical deed of the personality.
Well, I think we're dealing with the physical body, okay, and the brain and ego, which are in a big hurry, right, all the time, because they know they're short-lived. Right. And so when we take on a physical body as a spirit, right, because we are a spirit having a human journey, not a human having a spiritual journey, we're in a hurry for things. And we know when we get to be in this physical body, we get to touch, we get to have pleasure, we get to have fun, we get to laugh, but we also get to experience, death and sadness and disappointment and all of those things. So there's kind of two things going on there, but then you have the spirit that's infinite, right? The breath that continues always. And so, you have kind of two different things going there. So they can work in together, in unison, and I guess being fulfilled in different ways, right? When we talk about God or we talk about being with others, it's really on a spiritual plane, and touch and hugs also fulfills a physical need, right? In the physical body, if that makes sense.
It does, and it's beautifully put. We're just coming up to 9 o'clock UK time. So is it about 1 o'clock? I think probably where you are now in the afternoon. And I'm going to get people to start getting their questions ready, and they can put questions to either of us or both of us as a panel. Most of the time, if it's not directed to one of us in particular, we'll both have a go at answering it. And just while you're getting your questions ready, I just wanted to finish with a couple of other sentences from Ralph's book, which again, he just said, now read the next paragraph because of what you just said. Ralph, when he talks about death, he said, to understand what happens after the moment of physical death, it's a useful analogy to think of what happens to a helium balloon. Because when a balloon is filled with helium, it tries to rise up to a level where the density of the balloon is equal to that of the air outside. If released, it will rise up until it reaches that level, where it will stay until eventually it bursts. In the same way, at the moment of death of the physical body, the personality separates from the body and rises to the vibration level of pure thought, pure energy. This is the level which spiritualists call the other side of life, the afterlife, the place I call heaven. At this level, the frequency of its own vibration level is equal to the outside level, and so that is where the personality stays. This frequency is so high in our dimension that it can no longer be sensed by any of the 5 physical senses of human beings. So it's interesting fact that most cultures, heaven is often thought up as up in the sky. It certainly is up at the top of frequencies in our dimension. And I just thought that tuned in nicely with what you're saying. But I don't know if you have anything to say there. Otherwise, I think we had our first question there from Hawaii. Any comments on what I just said, Casey?
I just agree. Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful thought, and I didn't ever think about looking up for heaven and that reasoning behind it. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Lovely. We had a couple of people asking if we were doing mediumship tonight. We're not this evening. Saturday nights is always a night on Spiritual Psychics TV for clairvoyance, but I'll do some adverts to also let you know there's all sorts of mediumship. Sunday morning, our divine service from Wimbledon is also being streamed. Yeah, no free readings tonight, but tune in Saturday nights for a demonstration of mediumship. I don't know who it. Oh, Leslie Knight. Lovely. So Leslie Knight is demonstrating her mediumship gift on Spiritual Psychics TV this evening. Do check that out. I believe that's 8 p.m. on Spiritual Psychics TV. And of course, our divine service with Reverend Mummy and Daddy, Ray and Jackie Robinson, every Sunday from 11 a.m. And during that service, there'll be free spiritualist mediums. We have our good friend, I think, Bill Hughes this Sunday. And I forget my dad to correct me on the live feed if I've suddenly got that wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Bill Hughes this Sunday from 11 a.m. And you can tune in there. You'll have a reading. You'll have some clairvoyance. You'll have a spiritualist address. And that'll be live from Wimbledon Spiritualist Church in South London, but beamed across your channels via Spiritual Psychics TV. And of course, chill out on the Sunday sofa, Sundays from 2:30 p.m. on Spiritual Psychics TV. Meet the ladies, chill out and talk about anything spiritual or psychic, also with a couple of free psychic and spiritualist readings on that show too. Okay, so we've got the adverts in there, and we're now encouraging you to bring us your questions. We will have a go at answering them. Now, the questions can be anything spiritual or psychic, and we'll have a go at answering them. If it's about something specific we spoke about tonight, then we'll do that. So Phil Shaw, medium transfiguration, medium physical medium, says person-to-person contact translates into handshakes, pulling back or engaging in acts of a strong receptive energy exchange and a personal invitation to connect on a sensory as well as an intellectual level, which is a necessary part of our instinctual nature. So it doesn't have a question mark on it. I think it's more of a mini speech, Phil. But yeah, I agree with you, Casey. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about even, that's permission, right? That's when you shake someone's hand, right? You're giving them permission to move into your energy. Because once again, even speaking from Phil's point of view with just a handshake, I talked about hugs. Handshakes are huge too, right? Even missing handshakes right now because people you don't want to touch, you don't want to, spread the virus in that way. So yeah, I really appreciate Phil's comment. That's really makes me
Absolutely.
think. Yes.
I was I flew as close to the wind as I think I probably could have done tonight, because I met up with an old mentor of mine from work, and we met for a coffee in Wimbledon today, and so badly wanted to give this guy a hug. I've got a lot of love for him. He's a fantastic leader and mentor to me. But we went in for the risky but less risky handshake of the elbow to elbow, quickly followed by washing our hands and keeping our faces covered. So elbow to elbow was as intimate as it was going to get. Bill Hughes, almost on cue, says, "Evening all, sorry it's so late. Hi Ashley. Hopefully he came in just at the time I was advertising you on the divine service, and hopefully it is you Sunday morning, Bill." Julie Caswell says she's looking forward to seeing Leslie tomorrow evening as well, which would be great. And folks, we're ready for your questions. Was there one I saw from Hawaii, Richard? Did it come up? Claudette McIntosh. So this is very confirming on what I believe as to what happens when a spirit leaves the body and where and what they become. So Claudette, thank you very much for sharing that confirmation. Casey, I've used some plain English there, often for me as inspired by Ralph A. Steadman. Any thoughts on heaven and what I've said about heaven being a sort of place of pure thoughts energy?
Yeah, I think, and this is just a personal, view. I think as human beings, we have to name everything, don't we? You have to have a
Yeah.
heaven and a hell and things to fear and things to strive for, and putting a name on the essence of God, or I use the word energy or whatever that is. But I truly believe that when we pass from this body, leave this tent, we go back to that energy, we go back to that essence, wherever that is. And I also believe that we're all a part of each other, right? We're a part of the tree, we're a part of nature, we're a part of the birds, the flowers growing, our descendants, right? Our DNA carries on, so we're leaving a part of us in that way as well. So yeah, I don't necessarily believe heaven and hell. I just kind of believe it's an energy that we join back to wherever that is. And you have people that are clicking at a higher energy that are going to join in a different place. Then you may have someone who is still working through some things, and evil exists out there, so that's another whole realm of energy. Where does that energy go?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely, and I had my mum on the show. I think it was roughly about a month ago, and we spoke about that place. Lots of us refer to as sort of limbo, a
Hmm.
place. If and I do love labels. You're absolutely right. It's a very human instinct, isn't it, to label and ring fence things. But that place I call heaven, I said that for me, bad, negative, and darkness is not going to end up in exactly the same place as my nan. Not immediately. Maybe over hundreds, if not thousands, of years of evolution and learning. And my mum spoke about that sort of limbo, which could almost be that place where people's own psychological belief is preventing them from. So I love the way you described it there as energy and like being attracted to like, actually, and looking for heaven to be whatever you need it to be at that time, and then guides and inspirers coming to collect your loved ones and moving you on towards that light, helping with the evolution. That's lovely.
And I've heard it said, what if you create your own heaven? If you love to golf when you're on the earth plane, how do you know you're not getting to go golf the whole time you're in heaven? We don't know, do we?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah,
It's funny you
interesting.
mentioned golf. It reminded me of a story where someone said to me, I was giving them a private reading, and they said, "Look, my friend loved to play golf. Can you ask them in heaven, is there golf?" And I asked the communicator. The communicator said, "I've got some good news and bad news." And I said, "Okay, we'll pass it on." He said, "The good news is there's absolutely golf in heaven." So my friend was like, "Well, that's lovely. What's the bad news?" I said, "Well, your friend said he's getting ready for you to tee off next weekend." I'm joking. That wasn't really a private reading. We'll try and put a little bit of humour
That's cute.
into Spiritual Psychics TV tonight. But yeah, hopefully some lovely evidence of golf and sports in heaven, and it needing to be anything we want it to be. Have any other questions come in, Richard? Ellie says, "Do you think we remember energy from people we met in our past lives? I've met strangers before and felt like I've known them already." Oh, that's a lovely question, Ellie. I'll let Casey answer that first, and then I'll
Okay.
come in and give you my opinion too. Good question.
Absolutely. Right. And that's the reason why when you meet somebody and you're talking to them and you've known them 5 minutes, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've known you my whole life. Right. So it's because we've known them, in a different life. And, there's also a belief that we all incarnate back into the same family groups or friend groups. So, someone that is your, brother in this lifetime may have been your mother, or, someone, so you still have a strong connection. I remember looking at my children when they were young thinking, I know them, not the little bodies that they're in now. I know their energy. I have a picture on my wall of my great great grandmother, and I stare into this woman's eyes and I can swear that I'm staring back at myself, So I have that ancestral feeling of being reborn, or, rebirthed, just in a different body this time, but the same awareness, or being in the same, group of family or friends. And it goes the opposite way too, doesn't it, Ellie? Where you meet somebody and you're like, oh my, I don't, stay back, right? And so that could be the same thing too. You could have had something negative go on with that, that essence or that energy in a different form. we talk about, I'm sure you've talked about karma on your shows, and, karmic debt. And, sometimes we have to make mistakes with people, like someone's had a bad divorce or a bad breakup, or, whatever that is, or a friendship that breaks up, and it's because you had a karmic debt, or you had karma to live out with them, right? So yeah, definitely, Ellie, definitely believe that, we've met before, and especially with energy, right? It's like you just feel comfortable in that person's energy. So yeah, great question.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree with you, Casey. And we explored the concept of reincarnation about 6 weeks ago, and then we looked at karma 2 weeks later. I spoke about my belief of soul groups. At the beginning of this show, I also alluded to the fact that I feel like we have known each other in previous lives as well. And I love that idea. When we spoke about the concept of incarnation, I introduced the new human being ready to attend planet Earth for training and experiments. Newman the new human, who goes into their equivalent of the Blockbuster video store and chooses the life that they're going to do. And I can imagine that in my plain sort of English mind of doing it with friends. You and I, Casey, we could have been in that store of the universe together saying, oh yeah, let's choose a life, and this time I'll be a guy, you'll be a lady. Or why don't we make sure that one of you is in America and we only meet halfway through our life? I think that some of that is possible. Now, some of that could be almost like the romantic notion in my mind, or my own limited understanding of what it means with incarnation. But I think that some of the big ticket stuff does have an element of destiny attracted to it. It's only my free will and my ability to either listen to my guides or not that might dictate which direction I sort of go on. But I'm a great belief in the power of destiny, and perhaps the ability to choose a couple of the big milestones in your life and some of the people, the souls, the personalities that are going to be with you.
Yeah, they're all here to teach us a lesson, and I had a mentor tell me once, everybody and everything that enters your life will one day exit your life. So are you enjoying them now, right? Are you present in the moment? Are you, are you being with them? Be thankful for what you have instead of living in fear, and I think it happens, especially, with you worry about losing your parents or a partner or whatever that is. So we let fear run us, instead of gratitude and thankfulness and just being present. And I experience it too, especially if something is going on that I worry about, then I take myself out of it and my mind makes up all these stories, and before I know it, I'm having an anxiety attack, right? But you can do the opposite of that too, where your attitude of gratitude, and you're really filling self up with things that you're thankful for, and the human beings and the that have been in your life, and that have left your life, and to be thankful and to be grateful in that moment, right? And we've learned that through the pandemic too. It's like talking about hugging today. I mean, how huge is that? I'm a big hugger, and you have people that they don't worry about hugging. And I had a client that I sat with, she's 91 years old. She didn't care. She's like, I love you, I want to hug you, and if I get COVID, I get COVID, So there are some people that are willing to take the chance too, and so just interesting times. So I think it's been a really great subject today.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ellie says, thank you for answering. I think
you're welcome, Ellie.
Yeah, beautiful answer to that. Any other questions, Richard? Okay, we'll just bring another couple up. And folks, thanks for engaging. Do appreciate it. I know a few of you are having a bit of a chat with each other as well, which is lovely. So Alice Poston says, I believe myself and my fiance were either together in a past life or at least knew each other because of the way we clicked within the first 5 minutes of meeting. Do you think I'm right? Well, I think you've already said you do think you're right. So absolutely, why not, Alice? And I do think it's possible. Casey, anything you would like to say on that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Agreed. And I would say, Alice, be present with him and enjoy him and be thankful for him as well as, he for you, because gosh, you found each other again in this lifetime, right? So that's awesome.
Yeah. And that's not easy. If you think about the concept of reincarnation, what a cruel thing to then wipe your memory of all your previous lives and get you to start from beginning as a baby infant, after all that knowledge you've acquired in previous life, is you start again helpless and defensible, relying on others to feed you and keep you warm and safe, and you start all of it again. What an incredible experiment for people to willingly sort of choose that, and then to find each other, knowing how much free will you're given, all of the different ingredients of life, an amazing thing to happen. And I do think the universe does everything it can to find a way. I mentioned earlier on that Claire and I have been together for 20 years now, and I only met Claire through friends. Friends of hers who I went out with first, and I actually met Claire probably about 9 months before I started going out with her. And I just feel like the universe, and I do believe that Claire and I are soulmates to a certain extent. And the universe just kept planting seeds, giving us the opportunities to give it together. And I think actually, if you're going to go out with your wife's friends, it's better to do it before that person becomes your wife. But the idea of the universe saying, well, you didn't quite get the hint the first time, so we'll give you another opportunity. So Alice, lovely question. Glad that you've found love.
And I'm always very thankful too. I think my husband and I have been married for 32 years. We met and we were married 6 months later, and I think back, how the heck did I know that? How did I know that was the right thing to do? Because we didn't even hesitate. It was just like, okay, now let's get married. And so a lot to be thankful around those human beings that come into our lives, and we just automatically know, because we've all sat with people that haven't had that easy of a go when it comes to romantic relationships or those type of things, which is their life lessons as well. So a lot to be thankful for when we find that one human that we like so much that we want to spend the rest of our lives together with them, right?
Yeah, very true. And a nice reminder about intuition and an instinct, how you can trust it, deny it, or ignore it. And often the things you're feeling that are good can be good, and the things that perhaps are a little bit more, need a bit more caution, can be there. So Cherie Dyer says, what do you think they do in heaven? And I know we started talking a little bit about heaven, and I said that heaven could be absolutely everything you need it to be. We mentioned, playing a game of golf if you need it. I like to think that my nanny Hazel finally got a little cottage by the sea, and finally got the heating up to a point that she wasn't cold. I think all those things are possible in her own mind's eye, because everything is sort of pure energy. And I know my mum loves asking the question of trance mediums. Do you celebrate birthdays, and do you get together? And I certainly believe that that spirit beings are interested in us as human beings. They're interested in our anniversaries and watching from that. We get evidence, don't we, Casey, when we give mediumship of those significant events. But what do you think they do in heaven then, Casey?
Well, here's the thing too. And when I sit with my my clients, we give them a human experience and a brain. They don't have that anymore, right? They're just an essence and an energy. So for me, I guess we don't really know what happens in heaven until we get there, because I haven't ever had a spirit come and tell me, what it's like in heaven. So I often remind my sitters and my clients, they don't have a physical body anymore. They don't have a brain. So they don't function in that way. They don't, think about, they don't think. They just are. They're just, they're an energy, an essence, a being, So good question, Sherry. If you go before one of us, will you come back and tell us?
Yeah, I think that it's an interesting thing about the mediumship, because I've asked some of my communicators for proof of heaven, and in fact only since doing this show sort of 14 15 weeks ago have my spiritualist messages started to include more philosophy. And a couple of times when I've been giving private readings, they've played back things I've said on the show and either agreed with me or challenged me. It's like, it's not quite like that, you got that bit wrong. Or yes, I want to give you sort of proof of it being, whatever we needed it to be, because I think you're absolutely right. Time's not going to be the same concept, is it? They don't have a physical body.
No time.
They're not going to need food and drink and nourishment because there's no physical vessel. But actually, if you really enjoyed, a particular meal or a particular drink, my granddad Dale, I bet one of the first things that someone gave him was a little drop of brandy, because he hadn't been able to drink brandy for such a long time. But it would have been at an energetic level, and it would have been him, without his physical body, body, which had prevented him from having that little brandy, and it would have been that experience in a different way, at an energetic level. My granddad Rick, forever chasing the perfect temperature warm beer, or ale, British ale for those in London. Good evening, Mark, my colleague there from Hull. And I think that my granddad Rick finally got the pint the right temperature, or do you know what? His physical body was less fussed about it, and he finally sampled it in that way. But again, at an energetic level. So yeah, I think that you summarized that very well, Casey.
Well, and I think, I had this epiphany. I said, what if, when we are in this human form, we're constantly aware that there's something else where we're looking for the spiritual connection because we're aware of that. But when we're on the other side and we're a spirit, we want a human experience, right? So we're kind of never happy, because we, know as when we have a human experience, there's so much to be experienced, with love and passion and food and all those good things that you get to have when you're a human. So what if it's kind of a constant merry-go-round where you're not happy because you are constantly wanting what you don't have, right? So once again, that brings us back to the now and being present and being grateful, for what we have right now, Yeah.
Absolutely. So last 5, 6, 7 minutes, folks. I don't know why I counted 5, 6, 7 then to get to 7, but yeah, last few minutes of the show. So do get in your final questions. It's been lovely hearing your questions in the way you're doing, and of course, for me, it's a real honour to have Casey here giving her opinion. So you've got a question here, Casey, from Wendy. She says, if I'm in a cafe or on a bus, someone always sits beside me, and before long, they tell me very personal things. Is this my energy, and why is my energy like this? Thank you.
So, Wendy, always be aware of, if you're open to, I would probably guess to say you're pretty empathetic. You can sense energies and sense feelings, and so people can feel that. You probably give off a really warm, genuine energy so that people feel comfortable sitting next to you, on the bus. You just might be one of those people, because there are those people that you just meet and you feel comfortable with them. So yes, Wendy, awesome. But, also realize too that you can be closed, or you can say, I don't want to give my energy away, to this person. But through your question, I kind of feel like that's just how you operate through the world. So you're this nice little shiny light that, someone gets on, the bus, and sometimes it may have been someone that all you needed to do was smile at them. Even myself, if someone smiles at me instead of yelling at me at the four-way stop, or giving me the finger, that makes me feel good for the day. So really know, Wendy, what you're doing is helping those people feel better, and you're giving them love in a way that they need. So it's really a gift.
Beautifully said, Casey. And it reminded me of the term light workers or empaths, which you sometimes hear within the sort of the spiritualist universe. And I mean, as a spiritualist medium, still very much developing as you try and take an advancement every day, learning when to sort of close down and how to protect yourself in all sorts of circumstances has been a really interesting experience. But I can remember, certainly as a young man, that wherever I would go, anywhere in the UK, anywhere abroad, I would always attract the local person with mental health issues that would come to me and have a go at me or ask me for money. And my friends I used to play rugby with, and I would go on rugby tours with, they'd say, why do they always come to you and ask you for money or a cigarette and start giving this harassment? And I think for a little while there was a sense of me being just a bit of a lighthouse. And sometimes in some of that darkness, and I suffer with mental health, depression and bursts of anxiety myself, it's almost just like a little light comes on, and it's almost like at a higher level, the two personalities to say, go over to that bloke, he's going to be good for you. He's going to rub off you. He's going to give you a little bit of something nice. But I love the way you said that. So Claudette said that, she says, I feel that people who have passed still have the same personality, but are of light and good. Is that just how I remember them, or is that they are still the same? Well put, Claudette. And obviously it goes down with my philosophy that the difference between that corpse and the human being is the personality. I've always known as the consciousness. So their personality is exactly what I believe goes on to survive. And as a spiritualist medium, for me, it's that personality that comes through to give the message, and it's that personality that I challenge to give the communicator, as the communicator, to give evidence of them over to the client, the person that's on the sitter. How do you feel about that, Casey?
Well, personality. Light of good or sad. Yeah, I always tell my sitters, their personalities don't change. If they were mean and ugly and nasty on this side, they usually come through the same way. And I can't tell you how many times I've sat with a sitter and asked that loved one, please tell them you love them or say you're sorry. And they're like, yeah, nope, not going to do it. And the same way, you might have a figure that comes over that's, very grandmotherly, or there's a lot of love. And I will almost get like, this feeling of wanting to cry or feeling the emotion come over me. So yeah, absolutely. I think either, like the personality or their awareness of who they are as an essence. Absolutely.
Yeah. I won't mention the name of the medium, but a medium that was helping me with my develop once said something to me along the lines of, Ash, every medium should be able to give someone's granddad or nan or great grandmother in a message and say, well, your great grandmother's here and she loves you. And it's a lovely thing to have. But actually, there are people that were a little bit cheeky and a little bit mischievous. There were people that used to swear and didn't necessarily live their best version of their life.
Mhm.
When you can give evidence of that personality, even with the caveat you're in a spiritualist church, then that's proper evidence. That is evidence of that that light. If someone comes through and they're swearing, or we've had it. Obviously we both have a mutual friend, Ivan Lee, the medium. I've often, he will talk about people, and giving them an experience of maybe drugs, and if that was the life they lived, then that's the evidence that they're going to give. So Joanne, I think, has stole the last question of the night, and Joanne says, I have said hello to someone at work and I felt a strong vibration as if they bounced off my aura. Would you know what that is?
If they bounced off your aura. So how do you feel about that person? Are you putting up, your little shield or your light rays when they come around you, because you are probably very aware, especially, in the office. And sometimes we have to be more professional when we're in those spaces. We can't, be more open and lovey-dovey and, like you might be with your family or, in other situations. So I would I would say, Joanne, what's the feeling around this person? And it could be you're putting your force field shield up, right, where you don't want their energy in, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
And great that you're aware of that, Joanne. I think that I've got nothing really to add. It was brilliant, so I can't add any more value to that. But great that you're aware. And if you're feeling that, it goes back to that conversation in a couple of weeks when we spoke about guides and the jobs of guides. And what better way for a spirit being to demonstrate unconditional love by dedicating their entire in dedicating their time to your entire earthly life as your guide. And if your guides are there and giving you that instinctual vibration and that feeling as if it bounced off, then that shows that level of awareness, which I think was a great way, Casey, of you showing that. And sadly, we have come to the end of the show. When I'm here chatting with friends and answering questions, time definitely flies by. But Casey, it's been a real treat for everyone at home listening to you. I do hope you will join us again. I know you've said
Absolutely.
that dependent on timeline, we might try and get you to do some spiritualist mediumship, perhaps at a divine service or something. That would be early hours of the morning, I suppose. You'd have to be up at 1-2 o'clock in the morning to come on at 11 a.m. Sunday mornings. But we'll find a way in the universe. We'll have to helicopter you in to Portsmouth, and you can come and join us in the studio. Yeah. It's been wonderful for you all joining us, and please join me in saying a beautiful thank you to Casey. So Phil Shaw says, great show there tonight. Thanks, Ash and Casey. Kelly McKeaton says, thank you, Ashley, Casey, Richard, for another brilliant night. Ashley, please bring Casey back again. Such a beautiful show this evening. Very much love. Claudette says, thank you for asking her question. Marcus Medium also says, thank you both. So I feel that there's a big desire to have you back, Casey.
Okay.
Wendy Payne says big hugs to all of you and lots of love. And Sally Worker also says great show tonight. Thank you. So yeah, we'll definitely have you back. We'll think about some other subjects we can talk. I have the lovely Leslie Knight joining me in a couple of weeks' time, where we're going to be talking about spiritualist healing and counselling. I've also got a wonderful reader of the cards, queen of the cards, my granddad used to call her, Rose Anderson, who's going to talk about using cards and in juxtaposition with clairvoyance and mediumship. My mum's going to join us and talk about angel cards and oracle cards as well. Kaylee and Kim, Brian sending their love. June also saying thanks, Casey. Hope you get some sleep now. Lovely to see you again. Love to Dan. Thanks, Ashley. Great show. Sue Townsend says thank you to Ashley and Casey. So thank you, folks. Some of those comments will still continue to come up on automatic. We've really appreciated you join us. Remember, if you've enjoyed the show, give us a good thumbs up. Hit the love heart. Let us know you've loved the show, and share this feed. Afterwards, you can share it with your friends. You can host a watch party. Get some friends that you've been meaning to talk about spiritualist philosophy. Get them into a watch party. Engage with some comments. Get them to subscribe to the show. My Facebook page is @AshRobMediumsim. So please go and find me, Ashley Robinson Spiritualist Medium, on Facebook and Instagram @AshRobinsonMedium. Do subscribe if you're on YouTube to this channel. You can find Casey's page on Facebook as well. I think it's Casey Yogi Extraordinaire. Is it Casey Psychic Medium?
Psychic Medium and Yogi Extraordinaire. Extraordinaire. That's it.
Extraordinaire. Casey Extraordinaire. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
So find her Facebook page as well. Although Casey does her one-to-ones in California on California time, she has also said that she's up for trying some remote mediums readings for people that maybe want a reading with Casey. So available for those. As am I. So do get in contact with those. Check out the channel for other evenings where we'll be doing mediumship and demonstrations of clairvoyance. Christine Woodham has the final words by saying, a lovely evening with you both. Casey, give my love to Danny, not forgetting the kids. Well, thank you, friends. We've done the adverts already, so I look forward to seeing you at one of those other shows. Otherwise, stay safe. Now, we said we were going to just take the last bit of energy that we've got, and I'll ask you just all join me just for a moment where we think about all that incredible energy that we have built up this evening. And we might have a few friends and family in mind that are very much in need of some love, light, and some laughter. So we now think about taking all that energy and sending it to them, sending it back out to the universe, recognizing the chaotic situation and scenario the world finds it in, the wildfires over in California and Portland in Oregon, the memories as people think about the sad and tragic attack on the World Trade Center 19 years ago, friends and family suffering right now, be that mentally or physically. We wish them a speedy recovery from their sufferings. We wish them a speedy return to their place of home, should they so desire. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I've been Ashley Robinson, and we've had our wonderful guest, Casey. Good night. God bless.
Good night.